What's up, Starcraft fans? Today we're doing the tier list for Overclocked on Malwarfare. So Brian, let us hear about the mutation today.
Malwarfare is the map where we have to escort Orana's transport as it purifies security terminals from a rogue AI. We win the game if she purifies all 5 terminals, but we lose if the enemies or suppression towers destroy the transport.
Yeah.
We have 3 mutators. Avenger makes enemies stronger whenever they see their friends get wrecked.
Stacks up to 10
Enemy
times.
buildings shoot back at us whenever we hit them.
That's Photon Overload.
And enemies move really fast.
And that's Speed Freak. So, with me today are Stetmann and Tutu. Hope you guys are doing well today. How are you guys?
Great.
Doing pretty good, yeah.
So, some of us are going to sleep, some of us are just waking up. That's awesome. Perfect time to record a video. Anyway, Tutu, tell us about how we're going to rate the commanders today.
So the enemies have Avenger, so damage output will be good here. Photon Overload will be a bit annoying when pushing, but not that bad.
Yeah.
Speed Freaks, you probably want something that can like stall the waves, because otherwise they'll kill Arana really pretty quickly.
Or just kind of kill them outright like spider mice or something. Anyway, so let's begin. Abathur, where do we put him?
So Abathur, he has a hard time getting started. So even with biomass luring, it's a little bit more difficult because if your locusts touch a building, then the photon overload goes off.
Yeah.
Also the Avenger makes like surrounding enemies a bit stronger. So if you don't like kill all of them with one lure, then the other ones will get a little stronger. But once he gets going, if you use Swarm Hosts or Mutalisks, you'll be fine. So I put him in B.
B solid. Okay, Sticks, how about you?
Extra tricky luring in the early game, and then you should be fine for the most part. I am kind of surprised that Mutas would work as well as Swarm Hosts. I'm guessing that against comps that can't shoot up, you might run into problems where they just run past you and murder Arana. But other than that, yeah, B tier makes sense.
Okay, unanimous. B tier. Let's move on. Alarak, where do we put him?
Alarak has plenty of firepower to deal with Avenger. Plenty sufficient at every point during the game, which stick a building next to Arana or 3. So
Or 3, yeah. Or a War Prism.
A tier seems fine just because he just...
Okay, how about you, Tutu?
He has no problem against like any of those
mutators.
Any of the mutators. Yeah. So prestige doesn't really matter either. So
Really?
he's a pretty solid choice overall. Ascendants or Wrathwalkers are both fine. Wrathwalkers get better against the suppression towers.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. But yeah, so I put him in A.
Okay. Actually, I also have an A. So unanimous everywhere so far. Nice. Arcturus, where do we put him?
ESOs are good. So you can use them and you can fast build to avoid photon overload altogether. You just build them and then shoot the next area and then repeat a few times. His bunkers and his troopers. Oh, he has bunkers plus troopers, so he can deal a lot of damage to the enemies. So pretty solid choice, I think. I put him in A.
Wouldn't Speed Freaks be an issue for Earth Splitters just hitting the enemies?
You don't use Earth Splitters to hit the enemies attacking Aurora. You use it to clear the next area.
That makes sense. Okay, so you have an A? Okay, so you're assuming here which prestige. Does it matter?
3rd prestige.
Okay. How about you, Sixbender?
My thought is to put Mengsk in B, and the reason is because when I look at Alarak versus Mengsk, it looks like both of them, they both have a solution to everything. But playing Alarak is like playing like automatic transmission with cruise control, and Mengsk is like manual transmission and no cruise control. I have to do everything manually.
Yep.
You have to harder for everything. It's like, yes, you can clear first splitter ordinances. You have to build all them, load them all up, fire all them, get out, move on.
Per base.
If you don't want to have a whole lot of casualties with defending Arana, depending on comp, you're gonna end up pushed into a lot of bunkers to not get huge casualty counts.
Yeah, I can see that.
You're gonna it's literally just a matter of, do you have a solution for absolutely everything, just like Alarak? Yes. Is it nearly as low effort, low APM as Alarak? No. So I would say he's in B tier.
What do you think about that, Tutu? Do you agree?
Kind of.
Yeah, I also said B actually, but yeah. So we seem to be okay with putting him in B. So let's put him in B for now. Artanis, where do you put him?
Artanis is like a Genji. He's not like a hammer. He's not like he's not like got very good like tricky solutions to things. He's not got very good brute force solutions to things. He's just very very fast and mobile about changing course with just I just need to make a new army comp. Well, conjure all my units instantly with Warp Gate. Are going to discover that a suppression tower Photon Overload could actually mess you up and take a decent bite out of your army. That's how low octane you are.
Did we mention
It's
Tempest or
awful.
something?
Tempests are going to have a bit of a bad day with the fact that Speed Freaks and Avenger, they're just going to be like on top of your Tempest in 2 frames and firing away like a machine gun as soon as you kill a couple of enemies. You're going to run into lots of problems of just literally just being low octane C or D tier.
Yeah, I can see that being the case. I actually have him in D. How about you, Tutu?
I used Artanis against a pretty weak comp. I used all my Spirit of Dune energy, and I still almost died at the
Yikes.
end. I got like the last 25 energy to like survive the last wave.
That's clutch.
Yeah. So he struggles a lot, and so I put him in D.
Yeah. Okay, I think we seem to be unanimous with D for disappointment, which considering Sartanis, it's not really a disappointment, so we kind of just expect him to be there. Dehaka, where do we put him?
Dehaka. The pack leaders can help with pushing. Really, they're really good at pushing. Since the enemies have Avenger, I guess if they're air, you can use Creeper hosts. If they're ground, maybe Tyrannosaurs. Maybe depends what the comp is though.
Yeah.
Or you can like mass muta and stall, like use your minerals on
Worms or
the
something?
worms or something, just to like stall, give them something to hit while the mutalisks clean up. But overall, he's pretty solid, so I put him in A.
Okay, how about you, Stickspender?
Yeah, I think I can see that,
Yeah,
honestly.
same to be honest. I'm thinking of reasons why he shouldn't be an S.
Because he really feels similar to Alarak.
Actually,
He's
yeah.
just
Yeah.
he's
Like,
just like he doesn't have anything that makes him stand out as like, oh my goodness, this is S tier. He just is well rounded and good at the whole mission.
I think his top rush is slightly better than Alarak's, though. Actor. Yeah, he has 3 of them. And,
Yeah, his units aren't quite as good though, because he's like knockback is amazing. Knockback is really good. Alarak being able to yeet enemy waves is really good.
but Dehaka with the magic fart, also pretty good.
Oh, I would have argued rather Dehaka and Magic Fart. I would have more argued Dehaka with Roar, you're slow now.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, so
Which is,
we're unanimous with A, so yeah, let's put Dehaka in A. Next up we have Phoenix. Where do you put him?
It's like normally you could just throw your champions at it, and if they die, you just throw them at it again. If they die, you just throw it at them again.
Yeah.
Here, it's you throw your champions at it. If they die, the entire attack wave has killed Arana before your other champion can even take 2 footsteps from the shell farm.
I don't think they're that fast. Besides, you can have a conservator at Uranus transport, so you can have a lower chance of your champions dying.
This is true. This is true. But if you end up with an enemy comp that has high DPS for killing Arana, like say
Classic mech.
Swarmy with the Scourge,
Ah,
Classic
yeah.
Mech, not quite so much. Shadow Tech with Cyclones and Liberators.
So,
Would this be
lit-
true for any commander?
Yes, but Phoenix is going to have the problem that with most commanders, you could just park your entire army between the wave and Arana. With Phoenix, basically, I'm actually coming to the realization. I think that the solution is just to say, then why not don't play P2? Because I don't think you should play P2 because you don't want to be parking your shell farm between Arana and the
can't
wave.
you just stasis the
Because your
wave
shell farm's
while
gonna get wrecked.
you're? Can't you just stasis the wave with the Arbiter suit while your champions get into place?
Stasis is small, and you don't have that much energy on the Arbiter suit to burn.
Okay, so where do you put him?
So I would say, as long as you don't play P2, he's just kind of solid. He'd be like B tier or something. He's kind of solid, but not quite as solid as, say, Alarak or Dehaka. So I would say B tier makes sense.
How about you, Tutu?
Really, I felt that Phoenix P2 is very similar to last week, which is you just have brute strength and
Yeah.
whack everything to death. His units are pretty much expendable. They're like stronger Zagara units, suicidal units. So, like on Mal Warfare, the waves don't go beyond tech level 5. So there aren't any like really strong enemies. There are maybe 19 comps, there are probably like 2 that will have really strong air units. I'd take my chances, and if it's like any of the other like 15 different 16 17 comps, you're
You're
just gonna
fine.
walk over them. It's just so easy.
So where do you put it, Tutu?
I put him in
You
S.
have an S. Wow. I don't have quite an S, but I actually have an A because of all the things you mentioned. Are you guys willing to compromise? To have an A because Sticksbender says B, Tutu says S, and I say A. Are you guys
I
willing to put an A for now?
A is fine. I just think like you can have your champions on P2 just sit at Arana, and then when they stop coming, then you go to the suppression tower.
Even if the chance of something going wrong is very low, having very poor failsafe doesn't feel that comfortable for me.
How about this?
So
Alarak.
A tier makes sense. S tier does not make sense because the lack of failsafe means he can't be S tier in my opinion.
Yeah, and the more I look at it, when you look at Alarak and you have Ascendants, like they're strong, but if you don't look away, if you look away for maybe 1 second too long, they might get sniped before they get going. And for Dehaka, same with Creeper Host if you aren't looking. So the way I see it is Phoenix kind of has the same issue. Like if the enemy comes at you really fast and you don't react fast enough, you could end up suffering. So yeah, I think I can see Phoenix being kind of the same boat as these two. So yeah, and both of us, all of us, are willing to compromise. We'll have an A. Han and Horner, where do you put them?
Since the enemies come to you, Widow Mines are actually really good. You just park a ton of Widow Mines around Arana, and if they're Terran, even better. If they're not, then one of the Widow Mines will probably hit an air unit. You can use your strike fighters to take out buildings, plus call in the fleet, take out stuff in advance so that the overcharge doesn't affect you as much. And yeah, so Hellbats plus Widow Mines. It's really strong. But that's Han and Horner strong, so that's a C.
I was worried that you would put it. I actually have it in D, but I was worried you'd put it in B or A or something. Sticksbender, where do you put him?
Yeah, like Han and Horner, they strike me as being the exact same situation as Artanis. A very low octane commander. Oh goodness, everything is so strong. I was thinking D tier, but C tier, like D tier, C tier, same that region basically.
I was actually kind of okay with putting him in C, but now that I hear more about it, are you okay with D, Tutu?
Yeah, yeah.
I feel bad for demoting Han and Horner. I should have been happy that they got C because they don't really score that well frequently. Anyway, Karax, where do you put him?
Karax makes buildings and that defends Arana good. Karax clicks on attack waves that are shooting his buildings and they're holding still because they're shooting his buildings, so he clicks on them and they die. Summarily. It's nice and easy. And then you have to clear bases, and it's like, well, this is a little awkward, but it's doable. It's perfectly doable, either with monoliths or units. If your ally contributes anything at all to clearing, even if they just have a mediocre army and they A-click, that's all you need. So I would put him in A tier.
Okay, Tutu, where do you put him?
I think this is a good map for Karax P2 with lots of immortals and
Shadow
the
Cannon.
zealots. Yeah, so the zealots, the legionnaires, they have lots of the sentinels, right? Not
Yeah,
legionnaires.
Sentinels. Sentinels.
Sentinels have lots of HP and they have an extra life and they get healing, so they don't really care about the photon overload. Then the shadow cannons deal plus bonus damage to the buildings, so you clear quickly.
Where do you put him?
So I think he's pretty solid choice. So I put him A.
Oh, okay, interesting. So we also can have that situation where you guys said different things, but you both ended up in A. I actually also I also ended up in A because my thought process is similar to stick benders actually. You can use solo lands, you can use like all your top bars, but you need an ally. Any bit of ally help will get you there. So yeah, unanimous an A. Awesome.
I like
Kerrigan.
how it's basically with Karax. I gave basically a YP1 Karax should be an A. Tutu gave a YP2 Karax should be an A, and you kind of were thinking of a YP3 Karax should be an A.
Any
'Cause
prestige.
I was just thinking of like how Karax is gonna do things with a monolith based strategy. So yeah.
It works. Any prestige is good, but without prestige,
You're still probably good. You could just make a mesh together of all three game plans.
I don't know. For mutations, I feel like Karax really needs a prestige. Like any prestige will do, but he needs a prestige because that will really flesh out his strengths in a particular
The
strategy.
reality of Karax is just like it's not that he's weak without prestige, it's just that all three prestiges are strictly better than no prestige Karax, so there's no reason to ever play no prestige Karax, even though he's completely decent and solid with no prestige.
Yeah, I guess. Kerrigan, where do we put him?
Kerrigan herself is strong. Her units, like you probably can hold on with. You can probably hold the first area with just Kerrigan. By that time, you should have like Ultralisks or Brute Lords. Brute Lords are good because they stall. They'll stall the enemy. And you have Omega Worms to also stall. The problem is air. Like the air is not going to be super strong, but her anti-air is not that good. And it kind of, I guess it's not as safe. I guess using Kerrigan doesn't feel as safe as like the A tier units. So A tier commanders. So I put her in B.
I have a funny story too. Well, not funny, but like I actually had Kerrigan against Skytoss, and I actually won relatively easily. Hydralisks are actually pretty decent once you have enough of them. I really banked on the stun of Kerrigan to really make my Hydralisk survive by virtue of not having to fight units that shoot back because they're perma-stunned basically by Kerrigan. That's why I thought I initially had the same thought as you, like that Kerrigan's gonna suffer against air, but I went into the exact situation and I found that it was actually sufficient.
P2 deals with the anti-air weakness a lot. It helps a lot.
Yeah, I actually had her in A. But anyway, Sticksbender, how about you?
Yeah, with the wave thing, it's like you guys talking about air versus ground, and I'm just sitting here like, Kerrigan needs units? I thought she only needed units to punch the giant, big punching bag that was the towers, which, you know, Kerrigan's army has plenty high DPS to make it so that, yes, they are just a big punching bag, even with Photon Overload. Honestly, I would have put Kerrigan for S tier. You just have colossal wall of worms just completely walls off Arana from having to worry about like enemy wave just sprinting up to her. Hero solo, walls of worms, more walls of worms, a move Hydralisks at the bases and towers.
I'm guessing like if against Avenger, you're gonna have to like go back and do a lot of Queen micro healing. Otherwise, you get whacked quite a lot.
My thought process, couldn't Scourge and Phoenix's still just focus fire down to transport or something? Even with Omega Worms?
You would have to put your Omega Worms further away from Arana then, because as long as they're leashed to ground units, they can only go so far from their ground units of that wave before they're forced to return back by the AI for waves. The other thing I would point out is that Tutu, you say that Kerrigan's gonna need to like do transfuse fight? No. I've done Kerrigan hero solos against Avenger. Like when P2 first came out, I stress tested it by going hero solo, no transfuse, against like Avenger and Just Die shenanigans, and like Avenger Just Die Life Leech. The problem wasn't that Kerrigan couldn't survive. Surviving was just fine. The problem was purely that Kerrigan Hero Solo didn't have enough killing power to keep up with objective time limits.
If it's not unanimous, it's not S.
No, it's A, like maybe, but like if Phoenix, the easy guy with just not F2 but 1, just can't get S, then the other people I have in S are pretty much F2A guys. So
S, I don't think, because there's for me to get someone in S, it has to be like incredibly it's like almost like a cheat for this mutation. Let's move on. Nova, where do you put her?
I'd feel uncomfortable playing Nova due to speed freaks, but in practice it would probably just be like
The
only an
Vessedrome.
uncomfortable feeling, and I would just steamroll everything.
The Vessedrome, you cannot
basically
kill
the
me.
It's like I'd feel like speed freaks would make things fast, and it would feel uncomfortable with Nova. Unlike like all the current A tiers are commanders, except maybe Phoenix, where it's like I wouldn't feel uncomfortable with the speed freak.
Yeah.
So A tier kind of makes sense just because like everything will die anyways. Maybe if you get an air comp Avenger will be a problem because Avenger air units will be a little annoying to kill.
How about you, Tutu?
if the enemy is Zerg, you can actually P1 mass bio units and it'll be just fine. You make a few more Marauders than usual for the towers, but yeah. You can even make like a pair of Liberators with your long cooldown to just for hitting the suppression towers. Suppression towers, we didn't mention this, but if you don't know, they trigger Photon Overload, so just drop a defensive drone and then you'll be fine.
Yeah.
And you can like it takes I guess some micro because you micro liberators and you have like you can have Nova at Orana. So overall she's A. She can
Okay.
deal with pretty much anything, but she has to work for it though.
All right.
A little.
Actually, I had Nova and S, but both of you say A, so I'm okay with A. Raynor, where do you put him?
Get lucky, anyone will work.
Raynor versus Avenger. Raynor versus Avenger. Not fun. When they get extra armor, extra HP, not great.
Raynor cry.
He's he's just so bad. I think he's worse than Artanis.
I actually think so too. Like you'll need to have an ally who will work on all the clearing, and you can your best value is probably to be Spider-Man, if you know where all the enemies spawn, or BC Man.
What did I do? I used P1, but what did I do?
You use that get good strategy.
Yeah, but anyways, I put him in E because he's probably gonna be bad. Oh, I used P1 against Hope of the Kali, so
Wow.
some air.
Yeah, Corsairs. You don't have. You did
No
find
Corsairs.
Oracles. Okay.
It was fine. I end up with 5,000 minerals and max army.
Jimmy has, as I mentioned, the spider mines are going to be really, 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 really good if it's a ground comp because the AI will just run into them even if they had detection, the ability to outrun ranged spider mines. And that renders Jimmy a silver-lined trash bag.
Yeah.
Yeah. We can put Jimmy in E tier.
All right.
Yes, of course. Your bio did so well because literally you faced an enemy comp where the enemies have this great trait of being immune to the Avenger buff.
So he was playing regular Brutal.
The other enemies. The other
Anyway.
enemies were fat.
The other enemies, but like they get fatter, but like the oracles don't get bonus damage. I don't think the interceptors get bonus damage. The void rays don't get bonus damage.
And he didn't have to fight battle cruisers, so that's the most
the
important
enemy
thing.
comp is zealots who die to fire bats, oracles who are immune to Avenger attack speed buff, void rays who are immune to Avenger attack speed buff, and carriers who are immune to Avenger attack speed buff. So you don't get attack speed buff. Oh, it's not high enough tech level to get carriers. It's like the only enemy that actually gets anything for attack speed from the Avenger is the zealots who are busy hitting fire bats with a gazillion armor
and the scouts.
Phoenix. Oh, is it scouts? I thought there were Phoenix in that comp.
Scouts, yeah. For classic Sky Toss, yeah, they have scouts, Corsairs, and Oracles.
I thought Hope of the Kali is modern Sky Toss. Modern Sky Toss.
Modern Sky.
Not classic.
I don't know these other names.
Classic Sky Toss would have been a disaster. Classic Sky Toss is
has carriers.
Fleet of the Matriarch.
Fleet of the Matriarch.
Yes. Classic Sky Toss would have been a disaster.
Arbiters.
Would have been a slaughter.
Carriers. Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Oh, I wasn't thinking right. Anyway,
no arbiters on this map.
Almost agree on E. I actually had them in F, but I suppose we could put guys in F for this week. Anyway, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
Stat boy.
Jimmy's got bullets. He's just not. They're just not very good bullets. But at least he has a gun.
Stat boy, where do you put him?
Zerglings do not die as they just sit there and absorb the wave like the mega chonkers they are. Ultralisks do not die and sit there and absorb the wave like the mega chonkers they are. Infestors will just throw so many bodies at Amon that like there's no real hope he has of breaking through your roach swarm. Corruptors are chonky enough that even if it's things that only hit air units, you don't have to worry about them smashing around it because they'll smash into your corruptors, and more importantly, they'll smash into Gary. And imagine P2 Gary dying while near an overcharged Steadolite in green zone. It's really hard. It takes a lot of effort to bring down Gary with that. So basically, your army's like never going to die as long as it's in between Arana and the wave. It's easy to get there with Speed Zone. Gary utterly annihilates literally everything with the press of a button. Your army can annihilate everything even without Gary. As Stetmann is S tier, I'm pretty confident saying he just annihilates everything.
Yeah. How about you, Tutu?
Stetmann F2A's his way to victory.
You had me scared then. The first thing you said is F. I was like, no way. Okay, continue.
Yeah, so you play normally. You don't do anything different.
Yeah.
You don't do anything special because Photon Overcharge is not scary when you have Green Zone with a overcharged Steadolite with
Or if you have Zerglings.
hardened shield Zerglings. Not scary. Speed Freaks, you can teleport or run back to Arana if needed.
Yeah.
Avenger, you have Igor that just takes everything out.
Yes.
So yeah, this S tier, easy.
There we go. Easy S tier. Stat boy and S tier. The S is for Stat boy. Stukov, where do you put him?
I used P3, but P1 is also fine.
P1.
P3, if you use P3, you will dump a lot of bodies in front of the speed freak waves so that they can't reach Arana. Then you have your walking barracks with infest structure with that upgrade in the tech lab after getting the eBay. I forgot what it's called. The one you eventually kill everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can add tanks for more damage later on. But his early game is really slow. And if you don't like macro well or something, then and you can't expo right away either. So it takes a little bit longer. So I put him in B.
Yeah, kind of like Abathur syndrome here. Stick Spreader, how about you?
Yeah, that all sounds about right, more or less.
Cool. B it is. Nice.
Yep.
Swann, where do you put him?
Swann. Oh, sorry, not me.
Yes, Swann. He's bad Karax. With the only upside being on the bright side. On the bright side. The enemy says, "We're very fast with speed freaks," and then Swann points his laser drill and says, "No, you're not." That's like the only thing he has that prevents him from just being worse Karax in every regard. He could still play like Karax. He just is bad Karax. Literally.
Actually, that makes sense. I remember playing Mass Thors here, and Tutu said Mass Immortals for Karax. So yeah, Thor's bad. Thor's bad Immortals. So yeah.
Against a ground comp, I'd actually argue that Thors are probably better than Karax's Immortals.
Oh, so not bad Karax.
But if it's an air comp, your Thors are just going to be like, ah! Dies horribly. And you still are kind of bad Karax on the front if you don't have like Solar Lance and Purifier Beam.
True.
And, yeah. Honestly, Swann pretty similar to Karax in performance. I'd say it's basically just a matter of he's worse Karax. It's just, is he a tier worth of worse Karax? And I would argue no. Maybe.
Yeah, I'm actually on the fence also. I think between A and B. How about you, Tutu?
Factory fleet is the thing. Just fly them, and then once you have vision of the enemy, you shoot them with you manually target the wave because they only come one at a time. So you target the wave with the laser, and then they all die. And
Amazing.
Whatever doesn't get cleaned up, I used cyclones because I can.
Straight up, get good.
But you probably shouldn't. But cyclones are fun.
Good.
If you manage to make cyclones work against speed freaks, that's a pretty good sign. Swann is plenty strong here, I'd say.
Well, P1 cyclones.
Yeah.
Not any different,
Yes,
are
you have
they?
the slowing laser drill. The point is, well, P1 means your laser drill slows the enemy down, because otherwise speed freaks against cyclones would just be like, what do cyclones do? They die instantaneously to enemies who jumped on them in 3 seconds flat.
They also consume all your money.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, but I do think like his turrets might get run over if you don't like, because you have to clear ahead, and if you're slow on clearing, then you don't have time to build the turrets.
That makes sense. That's why I use stores to do.
Whereas Karax, you can just like warp in towers immediately. So even with like a bunch of SCVs building, you might not make it in time, and
But
yeah.
but you can still use stores.
Yeah. I have not made a Thorn in such a long time. I forgot whether they're good or bad. I just think they're bad.
They're like using very short range Earth splitters when you use that.
They are amazing at killing ground waves. That is it. Ground waves have no strong anti-armor DPS. So like ground waves that aren't immortals will die pretty hard to Thors, and that don't have like too much like range discrepancy between the units. Like if you have like a bunch of like Zealot, Archon, Immortal, Dragoon from Classic Ground Toss, the enemies are going to split up too much because they all have different ranges, so Thors are going to be pretty bad there. But if you have a lot of ground units, and they're all like medium range, we got modern mech enemies when we did our thing that he was playing, TTG was playing Swann, so it was really easy.
Yeah, I guess we got an easy
I was
comp.
playing Jimmy, and it was really easy because it was just I was P2 Jimmy, and it was like the ideal enemy comp. I was expecting suffering. I got an ideal enemy comp, so I murdered it.
We had a really easy time then. Like one of Swann or Raynor has to be good, right?
I would rather land my factories than build Thors.
Wow. All right,
you're underestimating the Thor,
yeah, but I put him in B.
Understandable. I'd put Swann in A.
Yeah, and I'm on the fence between A and B. We're gonna have to decide here. Is Swann closer to Kerrigan than he is to Abathur?
Like you have to work so much more for the same results
Mass
as the A
Thors!
people, right?
You have to work Mass Thors!
If you go for a mass army strategy, it's probably similar to P2 Karax. If you go for mass turrets, your turrets won't get run over if you build enough of them. Your turrets will only get run over if you're trying to do a thin line of defense. Your laser drill is like it's lower firepower than Karax's top bar, but it also is automatic. You don't have to like aim.
Yeah. And the only weakness in the mass Thor strategy, the early game, you can kind of mitigate it by having the laser drill cover for your singular or two Thors in the early game.
Weakness of Thors isn't early game. The weakness of Thors is shooting up.
Well, the laser also really helps with that. Just get them
the laser drill can also shoot up.
Yeah.
Yes. And missile turrets can also shoot up.
I guess my weakness with mass Thor's detection, but I guess I had an ally who kept scanning.
You had me scanning and using my 10 orbitals to say, do you know how many missile turrets are on this map? Like 900 million missile turrets.
Oh man. I'm actually now convinced that Swann is actually A. Like I was on the fence, but like the more I think about it, the only reason Tutu doesn't put him in A is because he doesn't make Thors.
If it's an enemy air comp, you just make Goliath or heck Cyclones. Technically, Cyclones would do better than Thors against air.
Yeah, just mix them. Just mix them in. Then F2A move.
I think Swann is an A tier. Honestly, Swann is really strong. His turrets are really good if you build them in sufficient quantities. His turrets, a well-built Swann line is stronger than a well-built Karax line.
Is A okay with you two, or is it not? Not really.
I don't think that, like, if you're even a little bit behind on clearing, you're not gonna be able to build the turrets.
Yeah, that's why you mass Thors.
You have like any unit, and it'll help with that. Or technically speaking, the laser drill is fast enough to clear pretty much by itself. And we're not assuming solo here, we're assuming a bad ally, and all the ally has to do is like
Scav.
a move with Arana, and if there's like anything left over straggling between Arana and the next terminal, which you cleared, it'll die to like minimal effort, because your laser drill should be able to do at like 90% of the clearing work if you are really like incompetent at using units to clear and you're relying entirely on turrets and you're not very good at it. The laser drill should be able to do 90% of the work anyways, even if you're not good at this. And if you are good at it, the laser drill plus whatever you use like to clear should be 100% able to clear. Honestly, it's not that much. It's not that hard. It
Yeah.
just takes like being able to solo the clearing part and get your turrets down. Minimal competence with Swann.
You don't know what you're missing out on, Tutu. It's fun. That's all you need to know. It's fun.
The math score is so comp dependent. It's like how P1 Jimmy did great against a comp that has immunity to Avenger buffs.
I mean, it's true that it's
and how
comp dependent, but
P2 Jimmy did great at using tanks with stim to defeat a comp that was entirely ground units.
I'm not saying it's not comp dependent. All I'm saying is it's fun.
Yes, it is.
Anyway, are you still like super averse to A, Tutu?
He's gonna the A is so full. At some point, he's gonna get moved to B anyways. Like Alarak, Dehaka are just so much better than him.
Yeah, he's right. He's right. Yeah, Phoenix so much better. Yeah.
I think the big thing is like, I mean, Tutu would argue Kerrigan is worse than Swann. I would not agree. I would argue Phoenix is worse than Swann. You guys would not agree. But basically, yeah, it's a very full A tier.
All right. We tried, guys. We tried to meme Swann into A tier, but he's gonna be Buon once again.
No, he's Buon.
Yeah, he's Buon once again. We tried. Okay, Tychus, where do we put him?
Tychus plays normally, so as long as you have a healer, so you can deal with the Photon Overload, and then everything else is just normal. If you play Lone Wolf, you do your Lone Wolf things. If you play P1, P3, you do your regular things. Nothing different. And he's really strong. So S.
Okay. Sticks better. How about you?
Yeah. You just kind of smash Tychus into things and they die horribly.
Yeah, I was thinking initially I had Tychus in A because he's good, but like I didn't really think of why not S. We just had the first S for Tychus last week, and we're gonna have 2 consecutive S for Tychus. I'm okay with that actually. Yeah, let's put Tychus in S.
Just raw power.
Yeah.
Raw power. He has so much raw power here. Oh yeah, and also of course armor does like nothing. The armor from Avenger does like nothing to Tychus, so that's always nice because like he has armor shredding. He has the armor shred on Tychus. Even if you end up with like a giant Max Avenger hybrid Dominator, and your ally is messed up by armor,
it just
no longer with Tychus.
It goes on just as fast. Anyway, Vorazun, where do we put him?
Being cloaked, permanently cloaked, is good and bad.
Wait, that's Stetmann, isn't it?
Oh, sorry.
Yes, I didn't mind him stealing it, but yeah.
You can cut that out.
As Tutu was saying, being cloaked is good and bad. I know, like I'm gonna like continue what you were saying because I can see exactly where you're going with that.
Yeah.
If you're cloaked, the enemies might just walk right past you if they don't have detection, and they're very fast. So you're gonna be chasing down the wave like, get back here!
Yeah.
You get back here! and then they start smacking Arana, and you feel bad. At least you're high damage with like Shadow Fury and probably Corsairs or something if it happens.
No. No Corsairs. Corsairs.
I mean, you have to shoot up somehow if the enemy is mass air, and
either Void Rays or Stalkers are probably better. Like I had 20 Corsairs, and they can't even out damage the battlecruiser's healing rate. Literally 20 Corsairs versus a singular battlecruiser.
Don't make Corsairs against the battlecruiser. Against like anything but a battlecruiser, Corsairs are fine, honestly. Against a battlecruiser, Corsairs cannot kill a battlecruiser that isn't in a black hole, basically. With an Avenger battlecruiser that is not in a black hole it's immune to Corsairs.
I used
If it's in a
black
black
hole. I used black hole. It just kind of glitched out because it's too
That was a
chunky.
the only way it would get out of the black hole is because you have a poorly placed black hole, and it has so much momentum from speed freaks that it gets like flung out of the black hole.
That's probably the speed freaks. Like,
And also aim better because that only happens if your black hole is somewhat misplaced. Honestly, yeah. I'd say like if it's air enemies and it's anything except a battle cruiser, make Corsairs. Like anything but a battle cruiser. Battle cruisers are like the counter to Corsairs. If it's a battle cruiser, yeah, make Stalkers instead or something, or make Dark Archons. You know,
yeah, actually,
like,
Dark Archons.
oh no, a massive Avenger battle cruiser. Anyways, yeah, she just feels kind of B tier. Like,
yeah,
she's just,
I cannot in good conscience put her in A tier because of the battle cruiser thing. Anyway, how about you?
It's not even just because of the battle cruiser thing, just because like she really feels like in a similar spot to like Mengsk or something, where it's just like she has to work a lot harder than other commanders to do the A tier commanders to do pretty much the exact same thing as the A tier commanders, just with more effort.
Mm-hmm. Okay, how about you, Tutu?
Map knowledge is very useful here. So like even if your enemy Terran doesn't have battle cruisers, there are battle cruisers on the map.
Yes.
So if you know where they are, you can just build like one Dark Archon for each one. Or just if it dies, you just build another one. If you can keep it alive, great. Then you just steal it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, just steal it if you know where it is. You still probably want Corsairs for the disruption web. That helps. You don't need a lot, and there are also like not capital ships, but air enemies in the in the encampments. So while you're clearing, you want something to shoot them to be able to kill those air units.
Yeah, watch out for EMPs on your Dark Templars.
Okay,
anyway.
and yeah, so because you're cloaked, you probably want to like you can get a few Centurions so that they don't hit Orana immediately, giving your DTs time to wipe them out.
I'd rather have cannons.
Or you can use a black hole.
I'd rather have cannons, but yeah, Centurion's also fine. So where do you put them?
If you can put like cannons there, advance, sure. If you can't, then warp in Centurions. But yeah, B. I put Vorazun in B.
All right, unanimous. Yeah, B is fine for me. She's great versus ground, but I really can't put her above higher than B. Anyway, Zagara.
Yeah, I have to say for Vorazun, like something in my brain broke when I heard someone recommending Centurions over cannons in literally any situation whatsoever. They're just
Warping
so
in.
They're so far.
You can't warp in cannons.
Epic rant.
Yes,
Epic
I know.
rant.
I know that. I know Centurions have the advantage of I could just warp them in warp gate, unlike cannons. They're so bad. They're so bad. But yeah. I could totally agree with you about making the Centurions. It's just that like the concept of someone recommending Centurions over cannons is a very foreign concept.
I remember what I did now. I used stasis wards.
Oh yeah, stasis wards are great. I actually kind of expected you to mention those, but I decided, I don't have to mention them. They're something that people can use if they want to. They're good. Stasis good.
Okay, Zagara, where do you put them?
Zagara. This is one where I recommend P2. I think the aberrations are really strong against against the Avenger units. They're pretty strong, and you add some corruptors to use corruption in case they get like to kill them faster. So not as strong as the B tiers, but not as weak as the D, E tiers, so solid C.
We finally have one in C! Yeah, the C tier, the Z tier.
But maybe Styx doesn't agree.
Yeah, we Styx better.
I perfectly agree. It all makes entire sense, and I 100% agree with using P2.
Totally. Let's move on. Zeratul, where do you put him?
Cannon's good.
Cannon's good.
I failed to see a reason not S tier.
How about you, Tutu?
You can trap the artifact on this map. Use War Prisms, go back and forth to get upgraded to like 10 or 11 by the end of the map. by the end of the mutation, the mission. And Dar Archons steal fat units. Avatar shrinks fat units. Cannon's good.
And it's good.
S.
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 All right. Awesome. All right. So, wow. Zagara really holding it together. Zagara's the belt this week.
Yes.
So, let's go to rankings. Who's the best among the S tiers?
Zeratul. No, maybe Stetmann. Probably Zeratul.
Really? I have Stetboy the best among the S.
I'd
I'm
accept
not-
it. I'd accept Stetmann. I would argue Zeratul.
Yeah. How about you?
Zeratul's Zeratul's the strongest. Stetmann's the easiest.
Yeah, that's why I have Stetboy.
Yes. You're right. That is exactly right, honestly.
Stetboy is the easiest.
We can put Stetmann higher because our tier list is supposed to be for recommendations for what's easier for the most part. That is the at the end of the day, that's the goal of our tier list. So Stetmann, Zeratul, Tychus.
Yeah. Stetmann, Zeratul, Tychus. There we go. For A.
Tychus is clearly the bottom of S tier here. Like the
I
other
would-
two are too strong.
Yeah?
I would
Yeah.
lightly argue that Tychus is, because he's F2A, he's easier than Zeratul.
Yeah, if you don't use
But
prestige.
That's
yeah.
not a big difference.
And, Zeratul just has the power of, oh no, a wave that I wasn't ready for. Anyways, I conjure Legion.
Or
And-
demote. The demote dude.
Yes.
Or steal them. Anyway.
Zeratul's ability to just conjure a, oh no, I done goofed. Anyways.
Cannons. Anyway. For A. Who's the best among these guys?
I mean, you know what I think. It's Kerrigan.
I actually think
Alarak?
it's Phoenix. We're all saying different guys. So
Alarak is the only person I could it's Alarak or Kerrigan to me. Alarak makes perfect sense to me, yeah.
okay, so Alarak is unanimous the best among the A's. Who's the second best? Kerrigan?
Karax?
Karax? I don't. Yeah, I don't.
Immortal Karax.
Yeah, Immortal. Immortal.
I am not convinced by your immortals. I am not convinced by your immortals, but okay.
It's funny how Tutu can convince himself with Immortals, but not Thors. Come on, Thors are bigger. Anyway,
At least immortals are better anti-air than Thors. But hey, Thors have better anti-ground. It's like,
and Thors can rebuild themselves if they die.
that costs the entire gas cost of building them, so unless you're spitting out turrets left, right, and center, that's costing you the only resource it costs to build them in the first
I
place.
still had enough. I still was maxed out by the end, and like more than enough gas to rebuild everything.
Oh yeah, that would have been that was an easy max out for you, absolutely.
Dehaka? Is Dehaka the second best among the A's?
Dehaka's very good. I would say I still believe Kerrigan should be higher, but Dehaka can go second. I'd be okay with that.
And then we can have. I think Kerrigan's above Karax at least. Is she above Phoenix?
Yes. I would say with Godfist that Kerrigan is above Phoenix.
Remember the discussion earlier. Phoenix can deal with most things. And
Kerrigan can deal with like everything with Hero Soul. She can almost Hero Solo the entire mutation. She just needs your units to punch giant towers. And the thing is, since you will be like having units that you're almost never using for anything that gets them killed, you'll be maxed out on Hydralisks. So if something goes wrong, you can just spit out a wall of Hydralisks from your worms, and they actually can take fights and win. Unlike Phoenix's Shell Army, which takes fight and it's incredibly bloody. Like your Hydralisks can actually win fights.
I forgot.
They just don't have to because Kerrigan's hero unit is so dominant.
Can the Hydralisks actually take down that battlecruiser that the Corsairs just can't?
Oh, it's trivial for Hydralisks.
Yeah.
Frenzy Hydralisks on creep. It's a joke. Keep in mind, the Hydralisk does considerably more damage than the Corsair per shot, and the Corsair against light versus the Hydralisk, it's not close. The Hydralisk is so much more damage, and the Hydralisk, I'm a Hydralisk with Frenzy standing on creep. I am pretty sure shoots a fair bit faster than a Corsair, if I'm remembering correctly.
Need a Dark Archon for Kerrigan.
It's not even close between the Corsairs and the Hydralisk, and the Corsairs. You aren't maxing out on pure Corsair. Kerrigan, you don't have anything else to do with your supply, but just make Hydralisk as you're like killing towers and also backup plan in case a wave needs to die and Kerrigan can't solo it for some reason or another, which will probably come down to a significant goof up causing Kerrigan to die
I'm
or
actually
something.
okay with Kerrigan a third among A's. Are you okay with Kerrigan number 3 among A's too? Okay.
I can kind of see the power.
Yeah. And then I think Nova's also above Karax, just because like she's versatile enough that she doesn't really need anyone else to.
Yeah, but Karax, if you use the right prestige, is versatile enough to be fine too. And
Yeah, Immortals are I
easier.
can see Immortals being really good.
I honestly would put a point to. I would probably go Zealot Carrier if I was going B2.
Carrier against Avenger?
More like well, actually, the zealots will block the ground.
Yeah, exactly. Zealots are good.
Okay. So
And if it's Zerg, then the biggest big unit that I can end up having to fight with an Avenger is like, oh no, a giant Mutalisk or something. The carriers will be able to brute force it anyways. It's just a giant Mutalisk. And if it's a giant mechanical unit from being not Zerg, I have Energizers. They're just excessively cheap Dark Archons.
yeah, that's true. All right, let's have
I
Karax
would use
above.
Zealot Carrier, honestly.
Let's have Karax here, and then for B, who's the best among these guys?
That's easy.
Yeah,
Swann.
actually, I think Swann's the best
It's
among
Swann.
these.
It's so clear. It's
Yeah.
Swann.
Swann's
It's
just
absolutely
missed
Swann.
a cut from A. Are you okay with this, Tutu? Swann best among B?
Okay.
And then who's next?
This is a lot less
Stukov?
easy than the Swann being the top.
Stukov, you can
Wasn't it
still
Manx who has all the tools but just has to work?
Yeah. How hard would you say Stukov has to work?
Stukov doesn't work hard. He just has a slow start like
Yeah.
Abathur.
So the argument here
different
is
I think Stukov's top bar gives him a much easier start than Abathur here.
so at least Stukov.
Especially if you just if you let the first tower live a while. Basically, if as Stukov you just don't shoot the first tower, then either A, your ally guns it down, which we can hope is indicative of the fact that your ally actually has enough stuff to help your early game, or the first suppression tower lives for a while, which means you stall out the entire mission long enough to get through your early game, and by the second tower you actually have an economy, or like an army and economy and everything set up. Or alternatively, the third option, you queue in a Stukov, you get an Artanis ally who solar bombardments the first tower when they have literally no units and everything is awful. But that's besides the point.
This one thing about Stukov is that on this map, the creep doesn't reach the second tower when you are there most of the time.
Yeah, unless you really stall out the mission, you're going to need to.
Wait.
If you want creep there, you need to literally proxy a command center.
Wait, can't you reach there with manual overlord creep spread?
You can. I would recommend proxy a command center as a 10 times better method than manual overlord.
Okay.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm wondering if Abathur is better than Stukov, or stronger than Stukov here, because with Avenger,
Late game, yes.
Yeah, with Avenger, you can run into the same problem as Raynor. It's just that you're an automatic. You're an automatic Raynor.
That, and also, if Avenger causes Raynor to suffer massive marine casualties, that hurts. If it causes Stukov to suffer massive marine casualties,
It doesn't hurt.
oh no.
Just keep
Anyways,
throwing dudes.
also, if the straggling mass Avenger stacked enemies are actually causing you trouble, which would surprise me, spawn Broodling.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Squeeze.
And Tonk good, and P1 Stukov good, and P1 Stukov, you saw how well P2 Jimmy went. Imagine if I had a commander that was actually built to play like that, and actually had a response to air units while using that playstyle.
Yeah. All right, we'll use Stukov.
It would just be
Wait.
it would just work great.
The only question is whether Arcturus is above Stukov and Abathur, or is he here?
I think he's above Abathur, because Abathur's the amount of effort Abathur's going to have to put into his early game with the Nestlering and all that against speed freaks and Avenger enemies, just running all over the place and giving you no time to think or respond, is going to make Abathur's early game difficult enough to keep up with Meg's whole reason for being down in B, which is
Earth splitters every base.
Hard.
Yeah.
It's hard. It just takes a lot of manual labor to play Meg's here, and it'll take a lot of manual labor to play Abathur here, but at least Meg's doesn't have a weak spot in the game.
Alright.
Just manual labor.
So Vorazun's bottom of B.
Yeah, honestly, I kind of considered Vorazun for C to a certain degree, honestly.
All right, and then for D, who's better between Artanis and Han and Horner? What do you think, Tutu?
I don't know. Never mind. I have no idea. I have no idea.
Mm,
Right?
If it's just Han, then they're F. If it's just Horner, then they're also F. But together they are D.
Hooray! They
Hooray.
did it!
I don't think it's necessary to distinguish between Han
All
Horner
right,
and
they're both
Artanis.
awful. All right, there we
They're-
go.
They're too equal in their awfulness to distinguish.
Okay, for E, who's better, Raynor or a bottle of ketchup?
Raynor, because at least Raynor, if he gets the right comp, will utterly annihilate that comp if he has the exact right prestige and the exact right enemy comp.
Right.
Like honestly, if I had to like solo that and you weren't there, I probably could have done pretty okay there because like it was the right comp.
Hey man, you're
got
underestimating
the
mass
wrong-
Thors. You're disrespecting the Thors here.
The Thors definitely did a lot of work, but Stim Tonk was good. Stim Tonk was good. I wouldn't have been able to get the bonus if I was trying to solo that. I would have ignored the bonus. I would have had to. Whereas with the mass Thor, you probably could have just gotten the bonus too because like Swann.
All right, guys, this is the tiers for this week. It's actually longer than last week's. That's insane. Anyway, go watch Sticks Better and Tutu's videos. They're awesome. And yeah, if you want to know how to actually solo this, definitely watch their videos. And I will see you guys next time.